Kathy Vick, deeply awake. Hope you channeling, but I need to chat. Oh my God. This is sort of a marathon, I guess, because through no fault of my own, and with no desire really, just going along, la la la. Oh, that's an interesting thought. Oh, where will that take me? Oh, that's nice. La 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 la. I decided to look up Ascended Masters for some reason. I forget why. Oh, Sanat Kumara, because I talked about Sanat Kumara and how funny they are, because they're just so old. It's like they can hardly talk, and they're talking like not in words at all. It's just so funny, and they think they're being so like deep, and they're communicating so much, and then you listen to them, it's like, that's just an old man who can't even talk and probably pees himself. Honestly. And behind the little simple words are just like massive amounts of you can't even call it information. It's not data, it's not light, it's something altogether different. That's Sanat Kumara. They've been tagging around me for a long time. I love them. But it wasn't until I actually said the words and decided to look it up that I realized the freaking significance of that. Oh my. Yeah, I looked up Wikipedia, Ascended Masters, and then initiation. Holy Mother of God. Are you strapped in? Make sure it clicked. 3, 2, 1. I read the initiations and I recognized myself in each one. Not only that, but I recognized my work at different levels of awareness. And I recognized my meditations and how far I've gone. And what I know to be true, whether I can communicate it with this simple little body or not. Whether my social skills and coding allow me to be an asshole or a nice person. Well, you know what? That creates a constipation of flow. And it's not going to be tolerated very much longer. It just won't. The 6th initiation is ascension. It has to do with true crucifixion, with true resurrection. What have I been banging the drum about? Who do I represent? Who do I know to be my brother? And I know myself to be only. That's just one expression of mine. And I mean the group. Not just Jesus. The group. What was the first essay I wrote about? It was Judas energy. It was Judas energy. It was Judas energy that I wrote about. And it was about unification. And it was beginning to pull the lid off of what, is obvious. Obvious. In the Gospel of Judas is a tale called The Temptation of Allogenes. Allogenes is the stranger. Unwelcome. Tempted. Conflicted. Afflicted. Man. That's my kid. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to hear him sing. He was silent for so long. Out of fear. It was a big deal the first time he put his music on the speakers when he got home. And because it feels better to celebrate and to sing and to smile and to imagine that you're safe. Bit by bit, he comes back to life. And he sings. What did that natal chart say? What did I just write down? Those Sabian symbols. That horror of being alone and thirsting for union and finding nothing but destruction and imperfection, disappointment, deceit, trickery, pain, pleasure, release, debasement, all the things that go along with all of that crap in where? Pluto retrograde. Whatever. So there's the 10th initiation, and that's with Sanat Kumara. He's the spokesperson for this big thing, the physics that does not argue with itself. Thank God someone doesn't. And then it said, okay, well, really, all that really is, it's Gaia. And, there's such a thing as an Earth Mother. Holy shit, I read that and I go, oh. And then there's the 11th. But they don't call it that, and neither has my team. They will not talk about anything but the 10th. It's unlanguageable. They've said so. It's all beginning to... You see the amount of light I'm running? It's just fan-fucking-tastic to figure this out. The place of unknowable knowing. The place of unspeakable silence, the place that is beyond. There have I traveled, often and much, during these last 5 years. It's where I've enjoyed being the most. I know it well. And those who have been following along have heard me describe the gifts, the profundity, the stillness. It goes beyond love. Of that still point, that place in between, that is and is not. That's where I'm from. That's where I'm from. And this isn't the first time I've said that. Because I'm sitting there watching my work and realizing just what it is I'm saying. I'm describing Sanat Kumara like a doddering grandfather with much love and indulgence and knowledge and respect. Trust. What does that make me? What does that make me? Are you ready? The kitty is, are you ready? Are you ready? From the beginning of these transmissions, we have been transmitting much by way of the language of light. We have said that this information is highly coded. It is. Not just for one or for two, but for many. And the futility and relative powerlessness that the entity felt as she banged away for free and was belittled and discouraged and made fun of and diminished and ignored and ridiculed. This finally being out in the open after having it been unspoken for a lifetime. Because indeed, it went unexpressed for a lifetime. it went unshared. This one has always been able to go far. Listening to her testament, well then, you will come to learn that's true. We said many times, this is a historical document. And this one thought that was quite a cocky statement, given that she was just revealing the simple mechanics of an ascension. That seemed to be the only fit and proper thing to do. If other people hadn't gotten the kind of training she had, it's the least she could do. Once the light started to go up, she knew what was going on. Teachers. Who do you think the teachers are? Who do you think the teachers are? She has always known, she just never said. It's the brotherhood, you know. It's the lodge. And she's one of them. Her brother ascended. They all ascended. And she agreed. And in 5 years, she incarnated. And she is the sixth ray corn. She is the fusing of those particular energies. Do you think that they're the only ones that are important? Well, look at the list. Look at the list. No. And when she had the near-death experience after the casino thingy, and she saw these robed entities that didn't have faces because the faces flashed so much that she said, "Hey, I want to talk to Saint Germain." She didn't ask for the Jesus. She wanted the Saint Germain. And the Michael, the Archangel Michael. Hey! I'm confused. I thought I would have people I could talk to. There were just these huge white robed beings who talked through their bodies and everything like that. They said, "No, you don't know us by that. That's silly. We have too many of those. They're all quite nice. And we can give you whatever you want, and they are happy to come visit, but that is not what we are. No, you know us by energetic signature. And perhaps this is what is meant by the one known as Archangel Michael. He writes his life checks on with that signature. Do you think he lives in his own little house in heaven? No, he's part of a group, dear one. He individuates for you so you understand that bit of information, that bit of assistance. Archangel Michael helps with the karmic ties and cannot break through love bonds, you know. He protects, he guides, he instructs, he initiates. Dear ones, he initiates. And so all of these people, yes, they are available. Of course, they are available. The purpose of this, dear one, is for you to learn your energetic signature. That is the purpose for the eye of the needle. This is what we told her when she went away the second time she spun. That's the idea. Which energetic signature do you want to use today? The Kathy Jean Anderson, who is in great distress most of the time due to her magnetics and her seeking and her need to complete a project. Keyed as a special one from the beginning, but one afflicted, as are they all, because why? Well, steel sharpens steel. Diamonds come from coal subjected to heat and pressure. Yes. Are you blown away? Is it too much? Are you falling into disbelief because it's too much? Would it be helpful to tell you of something personal, something quite human? Regard you, the nose ring. Are you in memory of the time that it was gotten and why? It was discussed. It was all discussed. Each and every miracle. For indeed, that is what this one can do. Why not? Depends on the use of the energetics. No one wishes to express. We give this to you simply because it's important to know that you are protected. It's important for you to know you are surrounded by help. It is not spaceships falling out of the sky. It's your friends, your family, your bosses, your janitors, your government people. Each afflicted. Some held down because of it, some in prominence. Expect more than the simple people feeling better. You can expect more. We wondered how far this one could go, and then we understand now that she is matching up the information we have shown her earlier about the membranes and about the dimensions. We have very purposefully kept it in the 11th and 12th, partly because the consciousness is not ready. And we've been giving her much information about the eclipse, but it's much of it is highly technical, and we will wait. If there is a request or an outcry for information, then we will continue to broadcast it, but otherwise no. Because the proof is in the pudding, you know. So it looks as if we are sad, or what would you call that, resigned, like that. No. Yes, so upon request, you know, it's a good thing that the energy, the circuit be completed. So we believe it's time to bring out the Sanat Kumara and have some fun because he's so cute. And he would give much in the way of light and love and information that is inaccessible but beautiful. And it filters down, much like those circles on that crop circle, going from plasma to more open, clear geometries. Well, you know, when you go from that third or whatever, fifth big golden ball, look at the crop circle with the one with the tree and you'll understand what we're talking about. When you go from that fifth one, right next to the one that's open, going from a big plasma ball to something else, well, that takes a little bit of practice. It's between the 8th and 9th. Remember, the expression or the understanding or the whatever of the origination, the emanation. The origination comes from the even numbers and beams into the odd numbers. They are better with the transforming stuff. So the stable, solid ones, they beam the information, and then it is experienced. So we say some knot is a little bit higher, but you've got to step down in order to speak to the humans, yes? You can't come blasting in. It's not possible quite yet, although it would be more possible. So it has been said there will be no need for the channeling, and this will be seen to be true, but perhaps necessary. But to step down the energy, not to step it up. Won't that be funny? Is the hip is that in just a minute we're gonna readjust, because comfort is very important to the old one. Hold on, he's so funny. Hold on, we got to make sure. Okay, he's so cute. All right. Okay, what a treat. Okay, so we need to go a little bit deeper and get the kinks out a little bit, because there are some kinks, and that is still a little bit of the tension from holding the head up in such taut, tense excitement. Such relief. Relief. Not a recoiling from the information, a relief. That should tell people quite a lot, yes? Yes, you cannot accept information that is not yours. Okay. We keep the eyes closed because we keep our focus now on a place that, well, of course, there are many things that do not need to be said. Have not you been hearing all about these? Just little hints, but more than you have had for a while, we say. More than you have had for a while, we say. More than you have had for a while. And this is good. A little voice, a new voice. And the call goes out, isn't that pretty? The call goes out. Clarion call. Once again. Because it's time, It's time. There are those with steel will. There are those who know better. There are those who were ready. We see the numbers listed in the Wikipedia about how many people of this particular class or whatever are on the planet Earth. May we caution you, this is a light caution thing. And of course it has to be individuated through intention and free will and joy. And how far one goes is how far one goes. The ones who visited the personality, well, they had the ascension. There was another one in the 94, and we will talk about it now. So there was a time in 56 when everything went boop. And it was a time when and there were triggers and stuff like that, and it was just time. The energy had to be configured differently because we had the 1960s. We had a whole bunch of Pluto retrogrades coming in, and the energy had to be amped up. And so that happened. You may want to correlate the timing, but in the 1995, the 12 of 95, we explained that we did ascend and we were no longer available because we could not speak. What does that imply? That implies going past. It implies going into the silence. It implies much. As a occurred a discharge all over the world of groups like us, implanted everywhere. Discharge this ascended energy into the grid and made it more freely available for all, if that makes sense. No longer completely embodied by anyone. Sure, emissaries, you betcha. Highly evolved. There was simply more of this energy available then in the grids for all, for all, for all. That's the idea. 100% full capacity for all, and you get to make your own decisions. You get to choose if you so choose. Are those who would say, well, this is one form of theology dreamt up by a madwoman who was a racist. And I think you're crazy. And I wish you'd go away. And we say, well, it would be kind of nice if you looked at some of the work. That would be good. It does not take many words from these channels for you to feel us. Expertly hidden in plain sight, something that cannot be seen to those seeing in black and white on either side, without a twang of weirdness. And so it is not comfortable to approach until you have a certain vibration introduced consciously to this one in the 1983 by the great teacher Esther. So we tell you much today. At the 12 of the 95, we allowed this one to open the ceremony, all of it, with a prayer. And she did the great invocation. We believe she also did the lesser invocation. And as within, so without, as above, so below. And so in the 94, there was more energy for everybody. Everybody. Yoo-hoo! It's time. And some went through tribulation, and some went through joy, and some went through stagnation, and everybody wound up in 2012. Carnate or not, corporeal or not, those not looking on in rapt attention and great love, looking forward to their ticket in again. And when this energy returned, how did it return, we ask you? We've been saying this energy has always been there. How can it not be? There is no lid, there is no roof, there is no barrier. except that of dimensions, except that of pure geometry. And the entity was ready, and so in the 2011 there could be a tip. It would be profoundly interesting to look at that particular night, at that stroke of the hour, to see what was tickling what, because that is when the innate woke up and this all began. The end of a Mayan calendar. And this, she knew, was a sign. It could be nothing else. And so she proceeded. And because of the self-negation, because of the lack of mate or friend who was supportive and could act as a the relationships were so disordered by the end. It was quite amazing to have the flowering she did. But the ground had already been watered a bit, There was a little bit of growth. When as confidence, grows, then so do the trees and the greenery and stuff like that. We show a beautiful silvery mercurial blob right after having seen herself shattered. It was in the glass, in the mirror. That was quite the shock to the system. We have done that a few times. Expose something, and she always takes it very well, but it does put a shock in the system. A reverberation is felt, and there's a little wobble. It's kind of fun, but well, there have been a lot of those the last few days. Unfortunate that some would think this wanking, meaning some would think this a form of narcissism or vanity or madness. We would caution that these kind of reactions tell more about the perceiver than not, and should be noted. Some reacting with violent anger because it's too hard to understand, too inaccessible, and therefore somehow intellectually demeaning, a personal insult. We understand this reaction has been felt with the extremely intelligent, lightning fast minds. But this energy is not strictly mental, and it comes with a charge. And if one is not ready for the charge, it can be overwhelming. When we returned, or when it's hard to know what we is anymore. When the return occurred, well, many things came together, of course, and there was much rejoicing because there was so much homecoming. And this was reflected on the outside world, and people began to smile at someone who they had always reacted to unpleasantly, it seemed, to her, at least at the end. Self-pity, the cross she hung on, her favorite. Best induced with misbehavior overindulgence or indiscretion or temper tantrums or whatever. This cross of self-doubt and self-hate and self-loathing and self-pity. Yes, that was Gethsemane, and that was Golgotha, was it? And then comes the Judas back into the picture, finally, to lead the way home with a kiss. That beautiful man, that compatriot, that equal. Don't you understand? There is a certain level of consciousness which is reached, and then it would be improper for a mere stranger to deliver the death blow. No. Let it be an intimate. And as she has delivered her death blows, busting system after system and ego after ego and life after life and expression after expression, in order to find a little peace, just a tiny bit, just one day when I wake up and I don't hurt, when I don't hate being here, when I'm not trapped, when it doesn't hurt, when it's not pointless, when people stop hurting me, when people start respecting me, when people see me for what I am. No one sees me for what I am. No one sees me for what I am. I am all alone, and all I need is the other. This was the cry. This was the cry. And so healing was sought, and it was given. And a life of service was chosen, although the pain was intense. And the self-service was as profound and as harmful as the service to others was healing and a balm. So, this master of reality, this master of duality, this master of energetics, this master of expression, do you think you are not able to reach this? Then you are wrong. Then you are wrong. You are incorrect. You don't understand. You don't understand. And so we remind you of clay feet, and mistakes, and pain, and addiction, and obesity, and loneliness, and divorce, and rape, and trauma, and abandonment, and fear, and loneliness, and poverty, being lost, of serving, not being served, of giving and going hungry. Whose tale is this? We would suggest it's yours. We would suggest it is not exclusive, but instead the song of a humanity that is beginning to wake up from a mass hallucination which has become more of a nightmare than not. It's silly though, it's becoming so extreme it's silly, isn't it fun? Well, if you wanted the egg to crack wide open, this is it. It was upon understanding, of course, with the threat that was to have been quite real and quite believable. The Sam was very gravely ill. Upon leaving for the hospital, she turned and looked up from her walker and said, "Hey, listen here. I want it understood something, okay? Whether it's you or whether it's me, one of us is going to die before the other. When that happens, the next day I expect that the other one will be standing at the bed in physical form, saying, 'Hey, did you miss me?' I expect nothing less, for that is where we are. And so whatever happens, happens. Death is an illusion. Let's go to the hospital. Let's find out what's going on." And so they did. And what was suspected, reasonably so, it would be irresponsible not to consider it. It would be irresponsible not to rule it out. The entity has a genetic makeup which makes it more prone to leukemia, and the presentation was that of leukemia. About a half hour passed between acknowledgement of the gravity of the situation and the results. Longer, actually, much longer. But these moments were not spent in fear. They were spent laughing and talking quite dirty, one to the other, making jokes and farting and goofing off. Neither needing to even acknowledge the gravity, because there was no gravity, although there was a sense of finality and bigness. And their diagnostics are normal. As is always the case with this young man, who presents with things that mimic death quite closely. The one before you having been admonished by nurses as having acted neglectfully towards son, for not bringing the son to medical care sooner for this chest pain. It was not cardiac, but the authorities finally said, "Hey, it's not cardiac." Thank God. He tends to dodge bullets like that, you know. Makes him wonder if he's crazy. All is well. All is well. All is more than well. And so we tell you of mysteries, and we tell you of truths, and the things you reel from and want to vomit about because they are too rich. That's just where your consciousness needs to expand a little, that's all. If you weren't ready for it, you wouldn't have been watching it. So let the discomfort come. That's what's called a contraction. It's no big deal. Is the Sanat Kumara Group? Well, you know, at the beginning it was very hard to language anything, because we don't come from a place that has language very good. So we don't have a good way of putting some things, and everything comes out kind of silly. And this one is very fond of bringing that to our attention. And this is funny, because with time, over time, we have been able to increase the speed of the transmissions, and also do a more of a saturation, so there is more, like we say, flow. And so is this particular group or energy available when this one is at the grocery store? Yes, it's true, yes. However, dipping into density was so profoundly uncomfortable. It became a sadness, because socialization is such a lovely thing. And lately it is feeling so good. And this is a happiness. And this was a question and a concern. How can I hold all of this love and I don't make people feel peaceful. I want them to feel peaceful. When we would say that is all they wanted to do. But when the energy is running so big, well, then any little bit of icky is a big huge stream of icky, and it gets to be too intense. So this all had to be worked out, that's all. It just had to be worked out. Isn't it nice? It finally has. Poor baby searched for so long, and withheld such beautiful information from herself. And this is part of the request and the release, is just to have that part gone. Why struggle anymore? No need. Why? No barriers to information. None. Not the barrier of worth, study, initiation, readiness even. It is intention now. Desire, knowing, and intention, declaring it so. We will not speculate about what the biology and the humanity will do with this energy. We are giving very many pictures that are surprising to this one. She saw the solar and the lunar, be doing their thing, and it was very pretty and very erotic and a big celebration and a very big surprise. But since we've given much in the way of other information, and it's very hard to language or even to visualize, and this is a very big surprise, because this is the main way of communicating much. The secondary way is through the tones and the ears, and then the vision has not really come in online. The face is not completely online. That's easily fixed. And all of these energies, they're talked about in the Dolores Cannon books, the kind of things she has been able to do and see. She's not doing a thing. She's creating the space, because of course she is that space. And whether you don the cloak of forgetfulness or not, you are that space. If you can tolerate the energy. That's the only question. Can you tolerate the bigotry? Can you tolerate the talk of an ascended master in the flesh who's farting and joking with her son in the emergency room? What can you tolerate? And what can you bring in? And what must you reject? Argue with? Squabble with? We say arguing, that's a sign of life, and we don't have anything bad to say about arguing with something. What does arguing suggest? Duality, polar opposites, negotiation. What's the point? Well, if it goes on forever, then there is no point. It's karma, and the engine is to create feelings that are so repugnant that you begin to realize that you're making a big stink. You need to stop. And you stop suffering a little bit, but you need to have a break in the harm. That's very important. If you keep focusing on the moment the blade goes down, the knife goes in, or the infidelity is done, or lied about. All of those things. Being lied to in a way that puts you in harm's way by someone who you didn't think you could trust. You did trust. Well, we talked about the Judas energy, and we talked about the second dimension, and we talked about the prisons, and we talked about the boop. And we said that these can be seen as dimensions, or they can be seen as consciousness state. They can be seen as agreement fields. They can be seen as behavioral patterns. They can be seen as coding. Can't you see it's all the same thing? But what happens if all of this is pinned somehow to magnetics that you don't understand, but that are patterned and beautiful and allow and disallow certain things, much like a binary code? What happens if those magnetics have a break? Well, what happens when a magnetic door has a big enough break? What happens then? Well, all the prisoners go free, don't they? That's right. Yep. What happens if the magnetic locks are off for 3 minutes? Who's going to escape the cells, we ask? And where will they go in the dark? We tell you, within this darkness is a great, great light. We tell you there will be manifestations of this light, and there will be many stories of bizarre things, eyewitness accounts, and there will be those who put down these things, catalog them, make fun of them. There will be those who pay attention, and they will understand what's going on. Perhaps it's noises in the sky, and perhaps it's lights, and perhaps it's people doing funny things. It is a good thing the nation is waiting with bated breath. Many dropping in now and then, just thinking about it, or the day, or whatever, and as they think of the 21, or they think of Monday, boop, it goes to the eclipse. It just goes to the darkness for a minute, and people do this ma and ma. We call them. Come on now. We're almost there, babies, almost there. Relief is on the way. And you will hear the cynics and the ones who've been beaten too hard say, I don't believe that bitch. She doesn't know anything. She's stuck in nonsense. You can't understand her. She's ugly. She doesn't brush her hair. You shouldn't listen to her. Don't abide what she has to say. She should stand down. This is too important for her to be talking like this. Who does she think she is? Okay? Who do you think is talking like that? Do you think that is going to be one of her critics? Well, then in a way you would be right. For that was she. And that is who is being buried, who is going to rise again. Isn't it beautiful? She sees this natal chart in the middle of a circle of beautiful Earth Mother arms, a grand shrine of Earth, and the sweet, sweet being who struggled and died. Lies interred with a shroud, didn't she say? This is the second day. We've given much in the way of imagery, and we've given much in the way of ancient information. It is in the line of the written down by the Theosophists, but her first teacher, true teacher, in the esoteric arts, not just in self-management and energetic management. That was Betty Johnson. But Esther, she had something else. She had the brotherhood. She had requirements. She had expectation of discipline, spiritual discipline, to be part of this, which she knew to be her inheritance. She had to read some books called Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. By Baird. And it's there that yogis are described in CDs, are demonstrated in various levels of ascension status, are showcased for humanity. It was this fellow who brought it to consciousness for humanity, and he is indeed a beautiful and shining soul. His information so pure, so lacking guile, so full of artistry and empty of ego. It's a flowering gift that keeps on blooming. This was the initial teaching after the Bible. The Bible taken with her, and during the first month of nursing school, she found herself in a basement learning about the Ascended Masters and the Great White Brotherhood. So, we believe this is enough information for one day. While it is all valid and true, the geometries we are seeing are stunning. We have showcased for you a few of the arguments which would be heard and understood as expected, and not a condemnation of the person, but an acknowledgement of energetic facts and reflections of dimensional reality and consciousness within this as it travels up an octave, and the personality structures are either left behind or not. The energy moves up. It moves up. If there was an ascension in 56 and one in 95, well, you can do the math, but what is so funny about thinking there might be one in 2017? What if everyone goes up a notch, including humanity? See, this is the thing. We close by telling you it's an obvious fact. Energy is telescopic, as within, so without. And we say, as within, so without. If we choose by skill, will, intention, plan, agreement, request to use certain celestial triggers and human consciousness states to increase the amperage significantly within the grids of humanity and the planet that is within the agreement of each human being. And it was the plan all along. It's clear as day. It has been written and written and written and written and written. And you can call it the rapture, and you can call it whatever you want. It is ongoing, and so it's silly to say that one day is going to change anything. Alright? But there will be changes. Do you have other signs in the sky, you know?
and none of them are malevolent. They are all benevolent. And those who want to keep banging the drum of anything but wonder and awe and gratitude would begin to sound foolisher and foolisher and foolisher as reality becomes curiouser and curiouser. So we close by saying thank you to those who can follow along. If you are one, then you are very special indeed. And we love you very much. And isn't it nice to have confirmation of what you know in your heart and what you know breathes you and sings to you, sings you asleep, steadies your hands on the steering wheel, around the pen, and around your sweetheart's waist. We wish for bliss for each person and our truest wish is for each human to find bliss within and for self, as with other, that it finally be equal, that it start within, that it be a raging bonfire of love, and let this be all you see in others, as within, so without, as above, so below, as without. So within. As below. So above. C'est là.